Peace. Welcome to part 2 of my metaphysical and occult analysis of the movie Branded. First of all, let me apologize to you all for the first video. The sound quality wasn't the best. So for those of you that had to put your ears to the speaker and hear it, I do apologize. So on this one, the sound should be pretty good. Now, continuing on with what I said before, or what I left off with in the first one, from the perspective of creation, dealing with any type of creation, mental, emotional, physical, there's always masculine, feminine principles involved. Period. And that's why I never subscribe to the idea that there's only a one male father God and that's it. You can't have anything without the mother, without the feminine principle, and even the text of Solomon, or what they call about Sophia in the Gnostic text, tells you that. So Mika or Misha and Abby get together and start working on this idea. And remember, I said the idea was about being able to take a fat or overweight plump woman and turn her into a supermodel through this extreme form of operation. Now, in the meantime, you also have to realize too, or know what's going on in the movie is about fat being in, fat being the new normal, and I'll expound on that later on. But fat being the new normal, because in order for the fast food companies, especially the one that's similar to McDonald's, known as the burger, in order for them to maintain their business and earn profits, they had to keep the people happy. So it was okay to be obese and out of shape and, overweight and all that stuff, whatever the hell overweight means, but catch my drift. So Abby and Misha or Mika get prototypes or different individuals, and they narrow it down to one, this blonde, who was going to be the experiment or the guinea pig, so to speak. So they had already shot the pilot or the preliminary shows where they're showing about this woman and all of this stuff. So then it is time to air the operation, and the blonde-haired plump woman is against it. She's scared. She fears for her life for some reason. And turns out that while she's on the operating table, at first it seemed like everything was going okay, and then she fell into a coma. Excuse me, I know that's rude, but I'm real. Okay, so she falls into a coma, and so now Misha, he is devastated. He's like, oh man, I can't believe that I put my energy behind this with all the power that he had in advertisement. One of the main reasons why this was so big was because he pushed it. So later he decides to leave it all behind, to leave everything behind and disappear. And it's interesting because the fact those of us who realize at some point in our lives that we've done negative, we've done wrong, or we've done something that's out of character, out of our nature, we feel as though we have to get away. So metaphysically, in this part of the movie, this is the withdrawing in, taking all of your experiences mentally, physically, emotionally, and getting away. So time goes by. Abigail is looking for him. Well, Abby, but Abby is short for Abigail, and she's looking for him. I mean, she went out to the country to search for him, and that's where he was, out in the middle of the wilderness, nothing but grass, clean air, had to find your own water, all of this stuff. And she finds him being a sheep and cow herder. And it's interesting because what the herding represents in this, the sheep and the cow, that represents like your future, the aspects of yourself that you will have to sacrifice at some point. And we all know in the ancient world, in some civilizations, cows or apis, sheep or rams were known to be highly used as a sacrament to attain some type of power, wealth, or whatever. However, when we deal with the science of the hook and the flail from ancient Kemite origins or Egyptian origins, these are the tools to not to wrestle your animal lower passionate self to reign control. So you needed the hook and the flail. You need the hook to pull yourself away from the distractions that which will pull you off course, and the flail to wake you up and keep you on purpose, whack you on that ass. Pow! This is what we're supposed to be doing, not that. So she finds him hurting, and when she finds him hurting, he's on top of a brown horse. Now, a horse in some metaphysical and occult symbolism represents the pineal gland. Hence, he was on a brown horse, and he's wearing white. I mean, not white. He's wearing black. So that's also representative of him withdrawing in, taking all of those experiences, all that's him, and withdrawing in. So she finally finds him, of course, and they go to his farm. She proceeds to ask him questions like, why are you here, and that, and in so many words he explained to her, hey, I had to do this for whatever reason. So he goes to sleep under the stars, because it's interesting that during this time, from what I see, when he was asleep or whenever he slept, he was always under the stars. He was never inside any shelter when he slept. He was always looking towards the stars. Okay, so he has this revelation of sorts through a inspired or divinely inspired dream. Then all of a sudden he wakes up. He has a blueprint in his mind of this structure he's supposed to construct, and he is to look for a red calf or a red cow. So basically what he was instructed to do was to build, in so many words, a large sacrificial altar for this particular red cow or red sow, which also in ancient African metaphysical lore represents the Divine Mother, the giver of seeds, the bringer of seeds to be fertilized, to be born. So or to be born into another state or creation, so to speak. So from here, red is a color also of sacrifice, and it's also the first color or the first chakra that you have to go through in order to walk up the ladder. And it's interesting because he had to walk up this sacrificial altar to sacrifice this cow. And not only that, he also had to cover himself in blood or bless himself. When you look up the word bless, Etymologically, bless means to throw blood on, to cover with blood. And once he covered himself with this blood and he cleaned himself off, it's like he knocked out and went to sleep. And when he wakes up in the back of Abby's vehicle and they're headed back to Moscow. So in his absence, or when he was gone from her, he finds out that they also have a son together. Alright? And the son is a reflection of what's been going on in society since he's left. He's in love with the advertisement, or being caught up in the fast food thing just like everybody else, and he is a seemingly obese child that is hooked or addicted to the burgers stuff. Now, right when he wakes up, and I can't forget this part because this is key. Right when he wakes up, he looks at Abby and he starts to see like these creatures. They look like they're a mixture of balloons or whatever. What they look like that, and they're floating in the air above her. So he uses a magazine to see if they're real or not, and the magazine is passing through them. Basically, when he did the sacrifice with the red sow, or the red cow, which also represents the powers of the great feminine, which is intuition, sight beyond that, or what we call sight, he is able to see. Once he puts together, when he gets back into city life, he starts to realize that not only Abby has these creatures surrounding her, that everyone has these creatures surrounding them. And then there's a scene where their son is, in so many words, fiending for this McDonald's type food, and he sees the entity that is connected in him almost like an umbilical cord. He starts to see that this entity is making the young man, as well as other people with other items or other products, to be drawn, and also entices him to want this, or to desire this more. Now, let me get totally metaphysical with this. What this part of the movie was stating was that in metaphysical and occult and esoteric knowledge, you find out that every thought and feeling that you have, and also every action that you have on the astral plane and the mental plane, we actually create mental offsprings. They may look like people, they may look like other entities, or they may look similar to the objects that we all desire and aspire to have. And whether they're created for positive purposes or negative purposes, it doesn't matter. These entities have an intelligence, and if their only intelligence is to get you to focus on the desired thought matrix. Once you feed them with the thoughts, they will use their power to push and guide you towards going to receive and attain that desired thing. And then one thing he also begins to see, when the little boy, once he receives the food, there is almost like the entity, the mental entity that was connected inside of him, had another offspring that went to an even bigger one that was above the city, and it was in the other bigger entity was taking in that thought matrix and feeding off of it. And so at this time, while this is going on, she thinks he's crazy, but he's not crazy. He's seeing something that he can't explain to her. And I'll go more into that in the next video.